Hi, my name is Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation, and it happens fairly often that people will leave a request for a particular topic, and we like to respond to those if we can. And this topic is how to make a relationship work with a blended family. Again, this is a requested topic, so I'm sure you're listening, and we're going to talk about that. This is actually a topic when I was in practice with live people, not just our courses and books, but over 20 years ago, this was a topic that came up fairly frequently. And I'd even met with children from time to time, not little kids, certainly not my expertise, but children who were just preteen or teenage children, and they were having a difficult time with the family, the new family dynamics also. And people think, oh, the kids are resentful because they don't have their mother or their father in the family, and they have to put up with this new person. And actually, that's really not what is happening. Usually the kids, and I'm speaking now about Western kids who are really raised very differently than even back in my day. I mean, the changes are just so dramatic. Back in my day, my parents didn't hesitate to spank my brother or myself, and sometimes it went way beyond spanking, and now it would be considered abuse. And yet, at times it's very necessary, but it just doesn't happen anymore these days, so we can't say, well, you need to start spanking your kids. Instead, I remind people that all of us, kids, adults, dogs, we all require something that we don't talk about, and that is love. And when people hear that, right away they think about, well, I give them love, I give her love, I do this, I do that. But it's not quite how it works. You see, we're so oriented in the mundane, and the mundane is not a bad word, it just means the day-to-day living. We are not oriented, and we should be oriented in our soul, because we are souls. It's not that we have one, we are one. We have a body and we have a mind. So we tend to think in terms of, well, how should I behave? What should I do? And the what you should do becomes subtle. What you should do really isn't about how you behave with each other, whether one parent should take on the role of a parent. Of course, you're an adult, so you should be a guide, a loving teacher. Being a disciplinarian is rarely necessary, but in order to do that, you need to discover the love within yourself. And here's a little technique that I have given to many people, and they have had tremendous success with this. So remember that of the mind is happening in your head, but that of the soul is happening in your heart. And you literally can feel the difference. So before you act, and we're mostly talking about your kids, right? So before you act with your kids, stop. You have a thought, oh, I should say this, I want to do this, they are crossing the lines, I have to set up barriers, da-da-da-da-da, or my spouse is spoiling their kids and I can't tolerate that. Those ideas have to go away. Instead, what you need to do when they come up is you need to check in with yourself and go, am I loving this person? And it could be your spouse when you're critical of how they're raising their children or how they're treating your children. You have to ask yourself, am I being loving here? Am I being saintly even? Or am I being reactive? Am I being judgmental? Am I being critical? Am I condemning? Do I not leave enough space for other people to behave the way they behave? Now I have to tell you, this is not something that I just started doing when I began helping marriages. I've been in business all my life. And this was a technique that I even used with employees, going back to the 70s. Yes, 70s. I am that old. And when someone would complain about another employee, when an employee complained another employee, I would have that employee come in. And I would say, now, this is the dearest of the dear to you, this person. And here's how they're feeling about you. And I'd say, express what you just expressed to me. And in that context, and it's not a marital context, you don't do this in a marriage, but the point is that in that context, I wanted to remind them that the context of the moment is not as important as the context of love. The context of love and treating each other respectfully and lovingly supersedes everything else. And if you can remember that, and if you could stop your mind from reacting when it's about to, and hold that stuff back, it'll be in your head or in your gut, but it won't be in your heart. Just stop. Just stop and say to yourself, really? Is this so important? Let it play out. Let whatever is happening play out. If one of the kids or the spouse gets angry, step back. Don't react to it. If they're behaving in a way that's inconsiderate, stepping on your toes, pull your toes back. Don't be affected by the way they're reacting from their point of view. The bottom line is this. It's all about love. Maintain your marriage in a state of love. That's the most important. That's the center, the nucleus of the family is the relationship between the soulmates, which is private, by the way. But the love should expand into the family. If you practice this, I'm not promising that teenage kids are going to become models of how to behave. They're still teenage kids. Brats are brats, but you don't have to be one back. You could be loving and stand above it, and you're not responsible for how they're going to turn out. Ultimately, you're not. And that's one of the great misconceptions in the world, is that parents are responsible. Step-parents or biological parents are responsible for how their kids turn out. It's not true. To a degree, we are responsible for training them as best we can and loving them with all we have. But how they turn out, you didn't create these kids. You just do the best you can. Focus your energy on loving your spouse with all your heart, mind, and soul. Thank you for visiting me. I hope this was of some benefit. I hope it gets you to start thinking more in terms of living your marriage in your heart. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. Subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if you wish. And thank you. God bless you. Take care.